It started that time. I don't know if you noticed that delay. Sometimes it can take, I don't know, 10 tries. So let's see if we can figure out what's causing that. So back today with our favorite 2007 GMC Acadia, we are going to work on the starting system. If you saw earlier, it actually started this time, but occasionally you get in and you get a click and nothing happens, and you may do it 5 or 6 times and it'll start. The other day, my wife got stuck at school and it took her like 10 minutes before it started, but it finally did. So it leads me to believe it's not a battery problem, and it's a problem with the starter, but we'll look at some stuff first. Up under the hood is a ground location and a positive location that's supposed to be attached. So there's a positive post over here, negative post here. This is if you need to jump it, etc. Shows the battery's good. Yeah, it drops down to weak if you put a load on it, but it should still start the car. We can do another test with the put our booster pack on there and see what happens. See if it cranks any faster. Of course, you can't get it to repeat it when you want it to screw up. So let's see what else we got here. So there's a relay. I'm assuming this right here is the starter relay because it says crank. This is a rear defog. So let me see if we can switch these relays. They appear to be the same. It's not really interested in coming out of there. Let's probably look at the number. They are the same. So after repeated starts, it started every time, and I would think if the battery was bad, it would progressively get worse and worse and worse where it didn't have enough power to start it. But it started every time, so I'm going to check. I'd like to check the electrical connections at the starter, but you can't get to them. They are underneath the front exhaust manifold, so I don't want to get it too hot. So I'm going to go look at the starter, but to do that, apparently we have to take this off because that's the starter all the way right down there. So if I'm going to go to the trouble to get in there to check the connections, I'm going to put a new starter in it. So let's start. I don't feel like moving stuff around and getting in the garage on the lift, so we're going to do it right here in the driveway. It went from a 90% chance of rain today to a 10%, so I'm going to take my chances. So first off, let's get the oil cap off, the engine cover out of here. Put the oil cap back on so nothing falls in there. Need to unhook this front oxygen sensor. See if I can do this one-handed. Pull that little red thing out. Pull that clip up. Come on, baby. There. That's unhooked. This dipstick tube, I believe, is going to have to come out of there, and that's 10 millimeter. There's 10 millimeter bolts holding this cover on. That'll come out, and then I believe we have here on the exhaust manifold are 13s. Yeah, we have 13 millimeter bolts we need to take out. You need to be very careful with them. I don't want to be trying to drill one of those things out. Let's see if I can get you a better vantage point. We'll get started. See how well this works out. Probably shouldn't have started it so many times. That thing's pretty warm. Still can't see much. Okay, let's get this dipstick tube. She doesn't feel like she wants to come out of there quite yet. Let me grab something, pull on that with. Don't think that's coming out yet, so at least it's loose. We'll leave it there. Now for all these exhaust manifold bolts, they are 13 millimeter. I need to find a shorter extension and maybe my deep socket. Oh, that one felt like it wanted to break. Still kind of does. I did spray some PB Blaster in here. I don't know if that's going to have any effect since these are bolts. But when I did put the engine in this car, I did put anti-seize on anything like this. So hopefully that's going to work in our favor. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Looks like there's 7 these 13 millimeter bolts that have to come out of here. So I'm going to take it easy and try to get them out. So I'm starting to have my doubts about the manifold coming off from the top without getting this cat out of the way, because I'm not sure how I'm going to get to the bottom bolts. I'm going to go ahead and take these off. These are 13s and they are really tight, but if these break off, there's ways around that. Oh. On top, these are 15s. Blastered them too. All right, I'm gonna need a flex adapter for that one. Got an impact flex adapter. These just aren't as floppy as regular universal joints, so sometimes they're easier to get in position. All right. All right, all them came loose. So I bent this dipstick tube a little bit, and that allowed it to come out. Now maybe I'll have a chance of getting to that other manifold bolt that's kind of below it, and the dipstick tube was in the way. So there's always one right down here I don't see any way to get out other than using a wrench. It's the one directly behind the cat flange. There's no way to get under it that I can see, so luckily it's turning. So it may take a while to get this one out. There's the exhaust manifold. There's the gasket with the built-in heat shield. We'll be reusing that. And now I can see the starter. First, I'm going to go disconnect the battery. There's a bracket that attaches to the bell housing down there. It supports this, so there's a bolt that'll have to come out of that, but anyway, there's the cat. So there's our starter. The power post is right there, and then there's the solenoid wire. There's no way I'm going to be able to show you that. I'm going to take that nut off and get that thing popped off there. And then it looks like there's 2 bolts, and it should come out. So to get to the bottom starter bolt, you kind of rest your head on the manifold here, and it's a 15mm wrench, and I've backed it out. Finally where I can get it by hand. There it is, there's 2 of them. Now, let me see if it'll clear this knock sensor. Of course, it looks like the knock sensor is going to have to come off, but before I do that, I'm going to go look for a torque spec for it. So the knock sensor's out of there. And of course, somebody had the audacity to walk their dog down my street. So Cooper's in there going nuts. Anyway, there's the starter. The solenoid connector is on the back, and you have to squeeze it and pull it out. And for the record, that bolt or that nut was really loose when I took it off. But to go to that much trouble just to check the tightness, we're putting a new one in there. And that appears to be an 8mm. And I hear we have our first leaf blower of the day. Main power wire goes on there, and this one actually has a lock washer, and the solenoid connection should just clip right in there. So this is the knock sensor. It's like a microphone that listens to the engine for spark knock, and it's pretty critical that it be torqued correctly and the mating surface be clean where it attaches. Looked around online and I found a torque spec of 17 foot-pounds, so that's what we're going for. Okay, starter wires are on, starter's bolted in, everything's hooked up, so guess we will work our way back out, put the cat back on, and then get that manifold fished in there. Everything under the hood's back together. I didn't think this battery was that old. It's a 2 of 18, and I think it's marked out 3 of 18, so It's only a year and a half old. I don't know where the screw went. Close enough. Let's see if it starts. Wow, that started a lot faster. Let's do it again. Since the battery was unhooked, it's probably relearning some stuff. So anyway, it took about 2.5, 3 hours to put that starter in. Overall, it wasn't too bad. Just be careful you don't break any bolts off. Anyway, we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, subscribing, and feel free to comment. Later.